of a government of India work work on to develop a baseline data generation about geology, geochemistry, and geophysics also over a nationwide, so that we will have a complete data, a comprehensive data set for sake of everything that we need. So as I think my topic is mapping. That geology is the geological survey of India is mainly concerned of majorly on the mapping the nation, in whole nation on a different scale. So here is that with this presentation, I would like to uh, give some glimpse of our work, so that how we prepare the things in and that you get in a form of a map, that a geological map or a geochemical map or a geophysics map. So I will start my presentation. So this is the outline of my presentation. So these things, this thing I will cover in my presentation. So these are the actually the elements of our mapping activity. So which we focus on and we collect data accordingly, and we prepare a compiled interpreted map that is a representative of our tedious work that we have excelled in our field, and we present it towards you. So uh, so what mean by mapping? What is the thing come to your mind that what is a map? So map is nothing but this, mapping actually it is an art of observing the things, noting the things, and put it in a systematic way, so that the person who is going through that map should understand what is the that map says to it. So here is thing is there, mapping has a different many thing many aspects are there which need to be observed properly, and the noting things and depicting the things in a proper manner, that called be mapper. Map as thing is that anything we can't say a map should be have some legitimate things that should be a characteristic, so that it should be called as a map. So any picture can't be called as a map. It is a rough one is there, okay, but it can't called as a map because it has some peculiar things which certified is as a authentic document which depicting information about a particular area or a theme in a systematic way, so that the reader get a clear cut idea what that map means to it. So in background you are able to see one kind of a map. So the fact in the typical definition, map called as a pictorial representation of an area depicting all features and information with a proper scale. Scale is very important in the thing which separates the map from its normal picture. So scale or a representation factor is decide how you are presenting or how you are showing the things which are located on ground over a paper. So the transformation of a land features or transformation of information about a particular area or a picture or a paper through a proper scale is matters very a lot, because accordingly there will be a different things which can be withdrawn from the map. So you here says I have some mentioned some scales. The that is 1 is to 50,000, 25,000, 10,000, 500, 5,000. So here is thing that the scale is very important. Just in the beginning of the before proceeding further, just I want to tell this few things. Is that for as like this presentation is for especially geology in application of geology in field of engineering. So many who have not so much idea about geology, so I want to share few things with you about the scale. Scale is taken into two aspects. One is the representation of area and another is the representation of information. So two things are very need to be taken in your account, that large scale and small scale things are is that in for a geology sake, if we call it a large scale map who have a very detailed information, while the small scale map is covers a big area, but in that there is will be a little information. So when you are about, telling about the thing about scale, you need to keep in your mind that whenever there is a big area, there will be a less scope to put all detailed information, so that it will cover a big area, but it will show a less information as compared to large scale map. Large scale map always cover small area but give a detailed information map. And for engineering concern, their plans are nothing but the large scale map of a area. So they covers a small area but give a detailed information, and that is very important for them to construct a structure. So other thing is that when we start our mapping, we need to have a one base thing, because if we don't have any authenticated record, so over which we our transfer our information from ground. So for our studies, we use Survey of India's topo sheets, which are on 1 is to 50,000 scale. Earlier it was on 1 is to 1 mile scale, but right now they are available in 1 is to 50,000 scale. So in a behind image, you can see that there is a one the peak of a topo sheet, where you can see that there are number of features over there. So this green patch is that is of uh, forest area. These black lines are nothing but the contour that show a topography of a land. Then these tree like lines over there, these are nothing but the drainage, means the streams which fetch water from the area to the nearby lake. This is blue ball, is one lake, that is a Pakhal lake. So this is our base map we use as a authentic record to prove, to support our document with a it has its legitimacy. So next thing is there. So now the thing is there how the mapping carried out. So has like there before going to starting the mapping, we need to have some idea that for what reason we are doing, from where we are using, how it's the terrain is there, how is the approach is there. That information is can be directly drawn from the topography of Survey of India. From there, we can get an idea that how the landscape is there, how the approach is there, what are the infrastructures over there. So that can be derived from the topography India. Furthermore, when before entering on the ground, we need to decide that how in what way we are approaching for the mapping, because mapping thing is that it involves time, money, and human power. So optimist utilization of these three things needs a proper planning. For that reason, we have that reason the mapping is broadly classified in two ways. The one is the foot survey, and other is the aerial and space survey. So I will explain one by one. Yeah. So food survey is a one kind of called, it's a very common method, very and it's the oldest method of mapping. Nothing but the mapping is that it's one kind of survey. We are just going in the area, we are collecting the information about the area, then we walk over the area, then see that what are the things are there, what are the other information is there which are required for your point of interest. So just think that we are involved human power in this area in this survey method. And for geology sake, we use a few things which are mentioned in this slide. The first thing is that our the basic instrument is the Brunton compass. With the help of Brunton compass, we able to find our direction, in direction we are where we are proceeding. Then we take a different attributes of rock exposure present within the area. Then next is our GPS. Now it is in earlier time there was no GPS. So based on the Survey of India's topo sheet, we used to locate ourselves on map by seeing the surrounding. Then we proceed. Then afterwards we proceed our work. But nowadays, now the technology is advanced. Now we are using GPS. There are variety of GPSs available in now. So we use GPS nowadays. Then other is the geologist hammer. You can see in a picture that this middle one is our geological hammer. It is quite different than this normal hammer. It has one side it has the chisel and one side is a knob. And other thing is the very important thing is that this is our another important instrument, that is the field diary, or it also called as observation sheet. So in this, whatever observation we observe in the area, we note in there, we prepare sketches for the thing. And for a in special cases, when there is a geophysical service there, so we use different kinds of geophysical instruments. The thing is that food survey is a quite neat, as like there is a involvement of human power. So it is a time consuming things there, because everything needs the observation over uh, what we got some okay, it needs money so also, but it's quite cheaper than as compared to aerial service. But here that there is involvement of human power, so always there will be a less scope of covering bigger area. So it is a very preferred method for a smaller area. That's why it's a very cheaper also. And then other thing is that it's that for a skilled, for this reason, for this service, skilled persons are very important, because the observation, the knowledge of the observer is very very big, is much matters in this food service. Next is the aerial survey. Sorry. Here, this is the product of a food survey. So this is one of my study area. So here you can see that there are the different colors are actually the different rock units present within the area, and the black points are there. These are nothing but the different attributes of a rock exposure in the area. So here's thing that we have mapped this area, and we prepare this kind of map as a large scale map. The next method is the area and space survey. It's a as like see, it is a very highly sophisticated method. It needs a highly high tech instruments like this, a plane, helicopters, and also use of satellites. So this is preferably used in when there is a need to be cover a big area, so that as like in what as earlier said, that when we think about a small scale map, this is the by this method we prepare small scale map, means that it covers a big area but give a less information as compared to large scale map. So in this method, broadly two methods are there. That is one is airborne, another is spaceborne. So in airborne there is a aircraft is there, helicopter is there, and in spaceborne there is a satellite. So from both method we prepare a different we draw different kind of information. We compile it as like it is a digital kind of format. We have to analyze the data through softwares, and then afterwards we prepare it different kind of data set in GIS softwares like ArcGIS and so many others, QGIS and GraphGIS like software. So from these surveys, we prepare this kind of maps. So this is a one kind of airborne surveys, like the aerial geophysical area was earlier it was called as a photogeology. Nowadays this is almost not preferable as like because of this technology advancement. On earlier days, the photogeology was done through cameras which were mounted on plane or a helicopter, and from that photogeology, then there will different kinds of data set were prepared, and from that this kind of GIS data sets, GIS maps were prepared, and this is one of the example of that. Then other one is there when there is a satellite data is there. So from satellite, we have also prepared different kind of map. This is the image of a satellite map. This is of a Aster data. Aster satellite data is there. So here is you can see that there are different kind of features you can observe over there. They're like as like a topo sheet, we can see the drainage, then different kind of elevated grounds, then water bodies. So it gives a synoptic view of a larger area. So it's a one kind of very sophisticated. Other one is the very time saving. So it will give a glimpse of a over big area, and we can also able to generate a thing information of a such a hilly terrains which are not accessible on foot. So for a hilly mountain terrain, this method is quite useful. And also nowadays, because of this sensitive border issues, the military also utilizing such kind of satellite based data for their operations also. So now next part is the things the geologists who observe in the area. The first thing is the lithology. Lithology means rock. So here you think that the things we found for that, what kind of rocks present within the area, how it appears, what are its composition, what is its relationship with units, what are his their occurrences, I mean, how which one is younger, which one lower. So the thing other things are we observe there, we we survey the area, then we will decide that what is their what kind of their association with each other. So these things we took things taking care while for observing the lithology. Say things that when you observe any geological report, you can see that there are many segments are there, and you can get in the lithology uh, segment, which there will be a super details are provided over there. What kind of regional geology in the area? What is the local geology? What are the order superposition? Many things are provided. So the question arises that why it is necessary to give the things. So how it is derived? So in this, so with this slide, I will try to explain that how it is prepared and what is its utility to for a field of engineering. So I think that in lithology we see different kinds of rocks. So there are, you know, that there are majorly three kinds of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. So we observe their occurrences over there, how it appears. So the top, the so you can see that igneous rocks majorly occur as intrusion. The first slide is of a dike intruded within the ground. The hammer is showing this is a one kind of lamprey dike. So it is intruded along the fracture. So it is a one kind of igneous rock. This is the then second photograph is of a sedimentary rock rested over a granite. So this red line is indicating the contact of a sedimentary unit over a granite rock, igneous rock. So he said the flat, mostly the sedimentary rocks are gently dipping, are almost flat. So these flat layers of sedimentary rocks are deposited over a granitic basement. The next one is next photograph is of a it's one also a metamorphic. Sorry, it is a metamorphosed sedimentary rock. So which is now earlier it was a horizontal bed. Now it is somewhat tilted because of deformation. So we observe that what kind of their nature is there, which one because they are that although they are occurring in the same area, but it's not necessarily they are formed in a single time period. So they are because with the change in uh, paleotectonic conditions, there were as like these plates are moved away, then connected each other. So there will they are, at the different time periods there is a formation of different rocks. So with the help of this understanding, we could able to generate a order of superposition that we called as a stratigraphy. So this way we observe that which one is the older rock. As like this, the granite, as said that this granite is a basement rock. So granite is the lowest unit of this area, then is succeeded by the sedimentary rock. Then afterwards, in a particular time period, this igneous intrusion was intruded. So like this way we prepared a sequence of event, and according to which rock was formed, we arrange them but in a uh, descending way, so that we able to understand how the paleoclimatic condition was there and how the different rocks were formed. The next slide is the structure. Yeah, it's a very important thing is there where geology is always looking for, as like these rocks are very old. What sort of say that from older to younger rock, there is different as like Earth is a dynamic. So there are so many disturbances where occurred while the formation of these rocks, during the formation, after formation, and some in different time periods. So these structures have the peculiar features which are present throughout the rock and depicting a typical things about the rock. So as a geologist, we observe different kind. We always trying to identify different structure element because they have these are nothing but the prima evidences. What kind of climatic condition, deformational conditions were there at the formation of the rock or the after formation of the rock. So that way can be generated from this element that called a structure. So in broad sense, in present situation, there is I have clubbed only I have taken only five structure elements. The first one is the bedding is very important because bedding nothing but this. It is a layer, a sequence of layers which has different mineralogical or physical characteristics. So this image is of a banded iron formation. So these black bands are of a iron ore and these lighter bands of a silica. So this shows that these were formed at a different paleoclimatical condition and form a sequence of a layers. The next one is the foliation. Foliation nothing but the any kind of planar feature uh, persists through the rock. So in the first slide also there is a foliation is developing along the bedding plane. So any planar feature which is pursued through the rock is called as foliation. Next one is the folds. Folds is very important because it is directly linked with the deformation history of the area. So this image is of a folded quartzite. So here it indicates that it was compressed in a particular time that resulted in bending or upwarping of a rock that gives rise to the fold. This is very important to understand to that whether the area is fractured or like that. So the deformation history, reconstruction of the deformation history is done through observation and taking information about this fold. Next one is joint and fracture. Joint and fracture are nothing but these are the cracks which are present within the rock. Yeah. So you can see that in this photograph, you can see a big cracks are present within the rock, which are persistent throughout the rock. So that and you okay, but if you able to see that there is a upwarping and basinal geometry of topography of the area, that means that it is also a folded area. Along with I mean, during the deformation, at places fold will created. Along with there will be a development of different cracks that also that call as a joint or fracture. Next thing is that when due to the deformation, sometimes there is a rupturing or a dislocation of bodies took place. So here that in normal sense we call in geological sense it is called as a fault. And if there is a couple like movement is there, we called it as a shear zone. So in this photograph, this arrow shows the movement of a rock unit under the influence of a deformational stress. So that result is the crumpling and fracturing of a rock. So this is the one kind of reverse. Here is a reverse faulting is there. So in there is a development of a rupturing that's resulted in dislocation of movement of a one litho unit over another. So there is another field photograph is there about this shear zone and along with faulting. So this image you can see that it is very quite clear that how the dislocation is took place, along with there is some little influence of shearing also. The next element is important is the geomorphology. So geomorphology is nothing but a study of a landforms present within the area. So yeah, when you're thinking about a landform, how it is formed, so few things we need to understand that everything is related with rocks. So how what are these composition, how is undergone weathering and erosion things, then how the erosional agencies like wind, water, glacier, air acted over it, and other thing is that influence of structure. So there is a one there are few principles of geomorphology in that the development of a landform is controlled by main important thing is lithology, how it formed, then structure, and then other one is the nature of erosion weight. So the different landforms were formed in broadly sense. The landforms are classified as mountains and valleys. So has like the nothing to say about mountains and valleys. But thing is that afterwards in between there are number of landforms where developed. So the first photograph is of a hill. This is the Iron Hill is there. You can see that it's a one high peak. It's having a slope, steeper slopes. So it forming a very high ground. Then second photograph is of a badland topography, development of say gully erosion at the slope of a granitic hill. And the third photograph is of a this is a river channel within limestone. It is an underground river. So here is that there are as like the in limestone area there is a formation of a sinkholes because the limestone is very prone to chemical weathering. So at a contact of water, it will get dissolved and it creates a cavities, subsurface cavity that created this kind of river channels. It is the photograph is of a Belem cliffs in Andhra Pradesh. Next thing is the hydrogeology. Hydrology that as like this we are concerning the hydrology is concerning with about a movement and storage of a water in rock. So here's that the few parameters are very important. Need to understand that how the water is comes in contact with the rock and how it is carried through the rock. So here hydrology deals with that how this water that's like there are different kinds of sources of water, rainfall, then the groundwater, then rivers and other things. But think that their circulation, their storage, there is their entrapment of the entrapment of water resulting uh, through the rocks is governs through different parameters. So for this set, we need to understand a few things: the porosity, permeability, and hydraulic conductivity. So the other thing is that porosity has like it has the pores within the void spaces within the rock. Then permeability, how it is allowed to transport movement of water through it. Then hydraulic conductivity means how it behave through, means how it derive the water to the nearby stream or a well. These are the hydrological parameter. We need to understand. We collected data about the rock and we generated different information for this. But thing is that the things which controls the water occurrences of water is the rock type and composition. So igneous rocks are very they have very compact structure, so they are very less prone to movement of water. But if they are very fractured, so they allow water to pass through it and also hold the water. Other thing is that for same case with the metamorphic rock also, but along their pollution they create a passage for the water. First thing is that they are very less permeable. They are not allowed to water to move further, they hold the water. But what about the sediment rocks, they are very good storage rock for the storage as well as um, uh, the transport prone transport prone rock for water. So they are very good water holder of a ground good water holder of groundwater. The next structure. So if it is a massive one, it hold less water. When it is a fracture, it has a by structural or by another means, it allows transport of water. Next is that other thing is that we need to think is there. If in a geology, in an engineering point of view, water is has this one kind of anamorphic structure. It reduces the strength of rock. It also creates a problem of foundation. And other thing is that it is also very important agent of weathering also. So things are we are in a field. We also know observe that what are the sources there, how the groundwater recharge is there, how the groundwater depth is there, how it is involving in uh, uh, how the hydrogeological condition over here area. And in engineering point of view, it's very important as like the foundation is much matters in designing as well as the cost estimation. So this data is quite useful. The next is weathering and soil profile. So weathering means the nothing but the simple destruction of a rock under the influence of different agencies like climate change, like temperature, rainfall, humidity, and also the biological influence, that is of vegetation. So his so typically the weathering is occur in almost all environment, but by different way. In arid environment, this is typically because of temperature fluctuation, it rock breaks down. In glacial environment, because of glacier movement, permafrost action, the rocks get break down. You know, typically the soil development is not much developed in glacial and arid environment, but in tropical areas, if you see that because of continuous change in continuous rainfall, high rainfall, then humid conditions, it prones to rock to be chemically as well as physically weathered to form a different layers of soil that we call as a soil horizon. So this is the picture of a one of the section where you can see that there are different colored bands of soils are there. Uh, so the top one is a highly dark color, then B one is a slightly light color, and C is the quite a weathered rock is there. So A horizon is typically a soil zone, which is having a highly fragile material over there. B is the lighter one, mixed kind of rock is there. It is already a accumulation zone also, because the whatever elements were reached from the A zone, they are trapped in B horizon. And C horizon nothing but the is a upper part of a fresh parent rock. The basement rock is basement rock, which is under a weathering process. So these kind of profiles we observe there because it's very important, especially in the coastal areas where there is a huge problem of landslide is there. So in that area, we need to understand how the soil profile development is there, because if whenever the structure is developed, so it will modify the topography. So ultimately, the topography it is result of a these agencies, lithology and vegetation. So when you are given to disturb the things, we need to understand that it will have some implication on other thing. So if we don't have this information about how the soil development in the area, it's really it will create a problem in its knowledge. It will highly benefited in planning of any engineering structure. Next thing is the now the we are in almost the end of the presentation. So as like geologists always looking for the different kinds of rock, its property, its nature, its composition, how it is formed, or how it is occurring, and right now what is the condition in terms of its fractureness, its weathering, and soil development. Along with that, in geomorphology also there we need to think about how there is a rivers are there are mountains are there. So there is a collective information we completed. We covered, we mapped, we collected the information. The thing is that now how we can utilize this geological information for engineering structure. So as like this program is for this is a faculty development program. So who have the knowledge about the geology, there is no issue. But for those who have not much means information about how the geology is applied in engineering sciences. So I would like to explain the thing is there. So as like both of us means engineering, civil engineer and geologist, they are working on the ground. The thing is that their aspect is little bit different. A geologist is looking after rock, its composition, and other things, but civil engineer is looking about construction of a engineering structure, its foundation, its a building material, other things. Ultimately, their both roles are very important in of a stability of a structure. Why so? As like geologists providing basic data about the area, and afterwards the structure is going to be constructed. Other thing is that geologists should know that what engineer requires, and engineer should at least have a basic idea what geologists are trying to explain to it. So with these elements of mapping, I am just giving a glimpse of that. This kind of data we recorded in the area, we we formulate it, we organize it, and we prepare a report. So in this area, these elements are organized in such a way that these are very easy to understand. First thing is that these speculative things are we need to be taken in mind that how this knowledge can be useful for a engineering purpose. So his think that the first mode is there suitable selection of a suitable site. Why it is that whenever thinking about a site, we need to have a complete idea information how it is there, because whatever things are now present over there, they were not like that before. So we need to understand whether the area, the site is suitable for the engineering purpose or not. So that kind of information is being generated through geologists. But afterwards, what are the suitability, what are the lacunas in the area which need to be taken care by engineer. So that information is provided by through geologists. The thing is that why thing is there, we need to understand. As like especially think that the rock, that kinds of rock, what are the structures over there, like uh, uh, if if there is a high soil development is there, as like these engineering structures in the oceans or in rivers. So in that case there is a huge soil river debris in the ground. So if we are not able to understand what are in what stage the river is there, so it is really difficult to plan this foundation of a engineering structure. And also ultimately it will affect the cost and time of required time for the construction. So the collectively interaction, the collectively efforts from geologists and engineering of persons, it will give any so effective. It will give a what we can be say that if we collective effort from the both sides will give not only reduce the cost of construction, time, and also solve the many things, and also the prime importance is that the stability of the structure. So there are many examples about the engineering failure of engineering structures, as like in northeast there was the dams were created, but there was one issue was that they have not observed the stage of a river. why the river was in mature stage. So as like it has a very shallow basin and they have created dam over it. But here as like the when the flash flood came, the water were jump over the dam, and the main purpose of a dam to hold the water was spoiled. So as like thing that the thing is that there will be always a some contradictions because of their own constraints. But thing is that we ultimately we have to come together and think that in what way we can prepare a scheme for approach, what are how we can prepare a design a proper design for prepare a design suitable for the area. Other thing is that how the we can approach in the area, especially in hilly terrains. It's really difficult because the rock is highly fractured, fragile, so it's really difficult to make a way of approach there. So with the help of geology we can geologists provide information, and accordingly the civil engineers or engineers can plan their work so to complete this structure. The other things very important is the source of construction material. So whenever there is a construction is near, where are the sites which are available nearby to the construction because proposed site of construction is very important because it saves cost of a transportation as well as time. So ultimately, as like in building material, we need a sand, we need a regolith, we need clay. So nearby with the these elements of mapping, we can identify, we can get that where we can expect where we get this kind of building material. So that is can be uh, this in that aspect geological information is quite useful. Then other thing is that very important is that assessment of engineering structure. Once we create a structure, ultimately we are creating a some structure stress problem over a rock. So we need to understand that whenever there is a removal of material or addition of material, it will create some kind of stress. So that will get stored over the area, and it will create some kind of problems in future. So for that need, that's kind of studies geological information is quite useful. The one of the good example of it, this is the Koyana Dam. So you might have heard about that. This water induced seismicity is there. So because of this, the storage water stored in a Koyana Dam, there was a one fault is there which were not noticed earlier, but now because of this water, this fault is now reactivated, and that create a seismic uh, uh, seismic activity. So it's the identification of such a structure in the ground, and then which out of them whether the site is suitable or not. Uh, that can be information generated. That can be we can understand from our geological report. So other thing is that in especially in coastal areas, when there is a slope problems are there because of this weathering and high soil profile development, there is always a when you remove a material, there will be high chances of landslide. So in that area, because of continuous movement of vehicles and rail, so there will be create a vibration, and that also create a potential landslide. So in that aspect also, civil engineers can utilize geological information in planning of these preventive measures for this kind of hazards. So this presentation is meant to for the lecturers is that, so whenever they explain the things about they will teach the students about the things. So they will get the civil engineers should at least have a basic idea that why the geologists are doing observing the things, and how this information is utilized to them in their own assignment. So with this presentation, I am try to explain to you things that these are the things the Geological Survey of your India is doing since its inception in 1854, and prepared us so much data about the whole country that can be useful to you in a recent time, as like the government is also pushing for the infrastructure development. So here is thing that no site is always perfect. It has some lacunas. First thing is that the collective effort from both the streams, that is geology and engineering stream, can resolve the things, and we can build a high quality structure that can long last for a over a period for a long period. So things that uh, uh, this presentation, this the kind of information is available for you. This thing is that the understanding is very important. Why it is so? So different kind of the about a whole comprehensive information about a site is much required. So to understand to planning for a structure, I would like to give one example for that. This you made here this nuclear plant in Western Maharashtra. So there was a investigation in 90s, way back in 90s. So near about 10 to 15 years was investigation was done. So there were the site was selection was decision by bureaucrats. But thing is that the Geological Survey of India were work there. They identify many structural problems. Means there are a number of faults were there. So based on that, they come to know that the area is highly complicated. First thing is that that area was near to the Arabian Sea. So there was a problem of a site, others suitability of other site. So the detailed mapping was carried out by Geological Survey of India. They have put forward the things that there are a number of fractures in the ground which are not observable on surface, but they are still existing there. And after construction of structure, they might have created some problems in construction also. So accordingly, the planning was made, and there the remedy measures were planned that how the site is need to how the site can be made suitable for the nuclear plant. Then afterwards, accordingly, the design was changed, and now the construction, as per my knowledge, is under progress. So he thinks that in this way, we can both contribute in development of our nation. So ultimately, I really think that there is so much information available in our uh, in public domain through our GSI. So you can take advantage of it, and yeah, accordingly, you can enhance your skills regarding this thing, and also with your understanding will be enhanced. Uh, with due permission from the coordinator, I will also add a few things. I would like to share with you few things with you. Recently, Minister of Mines has initiated one program called Bhavi Samvad. So in that initiative, we have started our interactive program that the GSO officials of GSO officials are interacting with faculties and students across the nation, so that there will be the awareness regarding the working of GSI, and also what kind of information and generated so far, because GSI is working in a wide domain. So with the this ocean of information, if it can be, if it's not if the people is not aware of it, we are trying to aware them that this much information is available, and you can take advantage of this thing for your understanding. And also we have the other objective of the project is that to create a new knowledge pool for the geological I mean, different streams, especially focusing on geology. So I request all of participants of this webinar to kindly visit our website, GSI portal, www.gsi.gov.in, for whole information about India. And we have prepared one Bhukosh window is there, where you can get a different GIS data sheet, data set about India, like roads, soil, rocks, then different structures. There are many number of there, as like we have also providing a geophysical and geochemical data set. So I request you to kindly go through the website and take advantage of it, and it will be good for you that that you may take you take this in your curriculum also, so that the upcoming students in the field in your stream may get benefited from it, and they will enhance their knowledge in field of geology and also engineering. So I think that I'm requesting all of you, if anyone have a question or queries, please be feel
Okay.
free to share.
Okay. Thank you, Deshmukh sir, for your session, and also limiting following the timeline, because as we are running, the session has started delayed by 50 on odd minutes, and you have concluded in on right time. So thank you so much for that. I have also received a couple of questions. I think there is one question from Jharia sir of NIT Raipur. He's asking that what is the most suitable method to map lithology of Archean terrain, as these are highly deformed.
Sir, actually, as initiation of this presentation, I told you, mapping is an art.
Deshmukh sir, if you can please hold your microphone nearer
Yes,
so that we can.
yeah, yeah.
Please.
Sir, I already told you that mapping is an art. So, as like the artists know how to use the art, the same thing is over here. So, especially in granitic, especially Archean terrains, which are really highly complex, highly deformed. So, their mapping is quite difficult, as like their original means their pristine signature is not available. So, we have to map them accordingly their occurrences. First thing is that the very important thing is in the mapping of Archean rocks that their foliations and their fold structure data. Strike and dip their foliation, this dip and strike of the foliation data is very important, as like their structure, the original structure is not preserved, because as like these are older rocks, they are got weathered, they got eroded, so their original structure is can be interpreted. At least like there are very few occurrences over there you can get a good exposure. But what I have experienced that they are mostly bouldery in nature, so it's really difficult to interpret their original structure. First thing is that a clean observation of foliation. A number of foliation means that each foliation is representative of a particular deformation. So if you observe their change in the attributes of foliation, it can be useful in interpretation of this structure. Subsequently, especially these archaeoterrains have a multiple history of deformation. So each deformation is leaves its imprints. So, but they think that the older imprints are really difficult to identify, as like they are superimposed by younger structure, but still they are preserved in some part of the area. So you have to look after that. In the we need to cleanly observe the outcrop. Then only you can understand that what is the oldest formation, oldest deformation is there. And for that sake, as like GSI already done is mapping on to 50,000 scale, and the maps on 2 million scales are readily available on our GSI portal. And there are number of reports which are in a public domain. So you can take you can refer them so that you will get an idea. Thing is there, sir, in Archean terrain is really difficult because each Archean terrain has its own peculiarities, and as like this, there is a heterogeneity in structural deformation. So it's icons, icons. I can't say that this is a proper method, because it's vary area to area, and within a single area there is so much heterogeneity in rock disposition also. So you have to think is that basics of geology we need to think that how it is occurring over there, how the structural attributes are there. These are the key points you need to follow, and based on that the rest thing will come, sir. And accordingly, proper noting of foliation, delineation, and this fold data, you have to prepare some ellipse steerinates. So from that you can able to identify that what are the what are the different episodes have created their features. So proper noting
Yeah.
of features is very important.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your answer. There is one more question from Dr. Radhakrishnan, that what is the future of Koyna Dam if a fracture zone is identified recently? RIS, that is Reservoir Induced Seismicity, was already reported from this zone. So, in a nutshell, the Koyna Dam, its future with respect to point of view of say earthquake.
Sir, now is thing is that we need to identify whether is it reported, sir. But thing is that always there is a scope of a more detailed investigation. So as like this feature is it earlier was was not noticed. So geophysical methods are quite useful for identification of this zone, how much it is sustaining. Because thing is that accumulation of stress it is a episode kind of thing. When it reaches the peak, then afterwards it will release its burst. So we need to think is that whether the each earlier seismic activity have created new fractures or not. If not there, we have to think in other ways. Another thing is that for resolving these issues, sir, it's need a multi-integrated approach, because one stream can't help much effectively. So with the help of this geophysics, then this uh, geology also there, geophysics is there, then structural engineers are there, geotechnical engineers there. So we need to collectively we have to sit together, and then we have to identify that how is now the present situation of this fracture zone is there. So if it accordingly we need to take a further measures.
Thank you for your answer. There is one more question from, I think, Archana Paile ma'am from Engineering College, Government Engineering College, Nagpur. She's asking that what are the practical remedial measures to deal with Red Bull during construction of any civil engineering structure? Regarding Red Bull.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, ma'am, the Red Bull is there. It's nothing but the one tachylated basalt, and this is the break the upper layer of a basalt. So its dimension is highly inconsistent, and as like it's what I have observed there, it is just above the sorry, massive basalt. So if you think about the engineering construct thing, is that we have to withdraw the material, because when the tackler base comes in contact with moisture or water, it loses strength, it becomes a soil. So in that case, we have to withdraw the material, and we have to shortcut like the thing. We have to fill the cavity with the concrete, but leaving a one space, because as like this Red Bull are very inconsistent. They are occur as layers also. They are occur as fractures. They are occur as dice-like features. So there will be always a scope problem of a cavity development. So in that case, the thing is that whenever there is a big zone is there, we have to withdraw the material. Then it's patched with a cement concrete, but leaving a one pipe, so that the whatever the water get groundwater stored within that cavity, which can be removed. Because if we patch the cavity completely with concrete, so there will be the problem of a water logging beside the concrete wall. So ultimately it will also create a future problem in future. So it always better to remove the material whenever it is possible, and then patch it with semi concrete, and put some provision so that the water can be withdrawn from the cavity.
Okay. Thank you. Hopefully the question is addressed. One more question from my side only. Rather, it's not the question, it's a suggestion come request that whether it is possible to have just like, because we know that GSI conducts so many trainings. So whether it is possible to conduct a training at GSI level, maybe the GSI Training Institute, for the faculties who are teaching in engineering institutes, so that we can get as a engineering geology teacher, because I teach on most of probably the participants are like that only. Those are the teachers in the engineering institute teaching engineering geology. So if any such kind of training can it be organized through GSI?
Yes, sir. Definitely, it can be organized. It's a nice, very nice suggestion. I will take a note at it, and I will convey this information to GSITI. That is, it's headquartered in Hyderabad only. GSI has its one specialized wing for this kind of things. We have one engineering division. We have own labs. We also do investigation for different engineering structures. So recently in Telangana state, there is a Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project is under progress. So for that also GSI had done geotechnical studies, and many in other areas GLs are also doing. The thing is that the problem is, problem is thing that the proper structure of a training is need to be defined. The issue is that we have our own way of working. So
Yes.
we don't have much idea about your curriculum. What are your needs? So it's really difficult for us to bring as we have so much practical knowledge, we have practical experience, we have so much data, but we are not in a position that how much things you need. Because if this your motto need to be, because ultimately the motto of training is that to fulfill your requirements. So if you provide a one kind of suggestion like structure that these things are you need in for your curriculum or your benefit for your benefits of your stream. So I request that you convey your suggestion or your requirements to our GSITI, So you will get
Okay.
all details on our website or GSI portal.
Okay.
You convey so that if you collectively say means that if your suggestions are coming from not a single person but from other faculties of the stream, then it will be easy for GSAT also, because arranging this much things are very complicated, because our trainings are have two things, means we have classroom classes, then we have a field visit. So
Yes.
accordingly, there will be a planning that when you if your requirements are very clear, so accordingly the plan will be made, and we will bring. Other thing is that GSRTI organize other officers also for a specialist, the what experts of that particular field. So for you, for sake the engineering, we have a very wide pool of engineering geologists in GSI. So for we can arrange their services for your training also. So, but thing is that that information
Everyone should be
need
clear.
to come from you,
Yeah.
so that
Yes,
we can
certainly.
plan in effective way.
Yes. So we can make an arrangement that we can share our curriculum content, and not the curriculum for our UG program, but rather the our requirement, because we need to get updated, especially in the engineering geology domain, as in the regular curriculum of MSc or MSc Tech, the post graduation curriculum. A little weightage is given on engineering domain as compared to the other classical geology. That is obvious, because geology is a vast subject. So if we want to teach them, we need to have more specialized training. And certainly, yes, I'm sure we can make a specified demand that this domain, these kinds of training is required with certain case studies, so that it will be helpful for us to teach in a better way to our students. Thank you so much for your kind support. I hope we will be we'll be following your suggestion, and soon we will be writing to GSITA. Okay, I think probably there are most of the questions has been answered, since there will be so many questions. It's not possible to have take all the questions. So I request mostly those questions which were very relevant I have taken. So now I take this privilege to thank Mr. Kishore Deshmukh, a geologist from Geological Survey of India, Hyderabad, for sharing his valuable time, because probably this is the time where data processing is going on, and he is also one of the faculty at GSITI, so he must be busy with some kind of session, so he has spared his time. So I am grateful on behalf of organizing committee. Thank you so much, sir. And for the participants, our next session will start at 1 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you very much,
So,
sir.
thank you.
It's my privilege also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A request to end the meeting. Host, please.